Welcome to the Bolt Podcast. I'm Todd Burge, keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and mental fitness coach. I'm here to help you unlock your leadership potential and ignite your personal growth. On the Bolt, my guests and I will dive into inspiring stories of transformation, showing how small mindset shifts can lead to life-changing benefits. We'll explore strategies for overcoming challenges, building high-performance habits, and leading with confidence. If you're ready to embrace a growth mindset and unlock your full potential, then let's ignite your spark today. My guest today is Natalie Siston, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best-selling author of Let Her Out. With 2 decades of experience in Silicon Valley, the Fortune 100, and entrepreneurship, she helps leaders slow down, reflect deeply, and lead with clarity and confidence. She's also one of the first certified positive intelligence coaches in the world and now serves as the lead presenter, guiding teams to build resilience and performance from the inside out. Get ready, listeners. You're positively in for a treat today. Natalie, welcome to the Bolt Podcast, my PQ friend.
Oh, Todd, I can't believe we're finally doing this. It's PQ, it's Ohio. We have so many Venn diagram overlaps that I'm sure we'll figure out. We'll figure them out as we go today.
Yes. Oh, any chance I get to talk with anybody who's familiar with PQ, I'm on it. Because unfortunately, not a lot of people are. And we're going to go down. We're going to spend plenty of time on positive intelligence today. But so just a quick hit. We met through NSA, so we have to give our mutual friend, Molly Ketchum, a little shout out.
Previous guest on the Bolt Podcast, right?
Yes, previous guest. We focused in on curiosity. So I love Molly. I love what she's doing. She's just a great human being and a great speaker. So anyhow, so fellow NSA member as well. And I know you volunteered with them a little bit. And you have a very diverse career. So we definitely, as my listeners know, I like to dig in. I really like to learn about your journey, your origin story. So Silicon Valley, Fortune 100, now an entrepreneur. I know there was a COVID pivot in there as well. So we talked a little bit about that before. So, take us through your journey and looking back, were there any pivotal moments that really shaped this leadership journey?
Well, Todd, I was thinking about this question, and one of the ideas that popped in my head this week is I should be retired by now. I have been working since I was 12 years old, and we're not going to go through all of those jobs, Todd, but legitimately, I'm not, they were not W-2 jobs as a 12-year-old, but I have been doing some form of work for pay since I was 12 years old. I am 45. This would be my 33rd year in the workforce. And I think there's actually something to be said for starting my work ethic that young in my life. I draw a lot of my stories, a lot of my lessons come from those early parts of my life growing up in a super small town where the first person who hired me was my Uncle Bob, and I cleaned his office. That was my job.
I love it.
But it was just something about that work ethic and knowing that I'm contributing to something bigger. And I saw what I could see in my small town, Todd, which I saw people be teachers. I saw people work in the local factory. I saw people working the small businesses that were around me, but I had really no idea of the broader world of work that existed. And when I went to college at Ohio State, my eyes were completely opened because it just became so apparent to me that there was so much possibility. And for me, actually being at college, being amidst higher education was the single biggest game changer of my life. It opened my eyes to ideas, to connections, to leadership opportunities, to jobs that I didn't ever think I could have. And so being in higher education, I thought as a 22-year-old college graduate, Todd, that I would work in a college setting for the rest of my life because, oh my gosh, how cool would it be to help other people have the same experience? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did out of college. And my work life in Silicon Valley was actually at Stanford University. And I tell people I worked within eye distance of where they were building the Apple headquarters, where they were creating Facebook. I was there right at the same time as all that stuff was really burgeoning and growing.
That's cool.
And I couldn't appreciate it from the mindset I had at the time. Now I do. I zoom out and I'm like, wow, I was there at that pivotal point in time of the kind of the creation of these enterprises, these ideas, this technology. And being at Stanford continued this mentality of, wow, when we can educate ourselves and work together, we really build from there. And I'll just give a couple more pivots, and then you can pause me to dig into anything further or push me along, Todd, as you need. When I was at Stanford, I had two mentors, and they said to me, have you thought about getting your MBA? And Todd, until that point in time, one, I didn't really know many people who had their master's in business. And I thought, I'm just going to work at a college for the rest of my life. I should go get a different kind of master's. And both of these men said to me, you can always work in higher education with a master's in higher ed, but you can go a lot of different places with your MBA. And I was in, Todd. I think the next day I went and bought my GMAT books. I started looking up different programs. And parallel pathing, my husband was finishing his graduate work at Stanford. So I was the one saying, okay, where are we going to go next? When you're done here, where are we going to go? And as kind of luck, opportunity, coincidence, I don't know what you would refer to it as, Todd, we ended up back home at our alma mater at Ohio State. He received a faculty offer, and I got into the MBA program at Ohio State. And talk about another trajectory changing place in my life. That was definitely the MBA program, because I saw a different side of education. I saw a different side of capability. I saw a different side of professional life, quite frankly, because until that time, I wasn't really introduced to the business world. I was aware of government and nonprofit and higher education, but I was like, ooh, business. Aren't these greedy people out to make money? Ooh, and Todd, you and I both we own our own businesses now. We work with businesses, and no, they are not bad people. They're actually all on a mission to do whatever it is that their mission is. And from there, I started my 10-year career in corporate America at Nationwide Insurance, where I did many, many things. And my ultimate job at Nationwide was as the director of sales coaching and development, which was the place where I got to fully be who I've always been in the world at work. Anyone listening who is struggling with that right now, I feel you. You show up at a desk every day at either a physical building or at your home office, and you just want to feel better. I felt that for a long time in my professional career. And finally, in this last role, I was able to do all of the things that I loved. I was coaching. I was leading a team of coaches. I was teaching programs. I was leading trainings. I was out speaking on behalf of the company to some of our partners. It was a magical, magical moment, Todd. And then, as you said in your intro, then I had the pandemic pivot, both because the pandemic and also because I was building something. The whole time I was in that job, I was building up my own business. And I think there's probably a lot of people listening here too, or who in that world, they're working a job 9 to 5, and maybe they're building something on the side. That was my life for 5 years. So for 5 years, I was building a business where coaching and speaking were the main offerings, which there's no passive income there, Todd. You're the talent. So I knew leading into 2020 that it was the year that I needed to take the leap, because I was taking more vacation days to work than I was to vacation. I was taking time off so I could go do my own speaking engagements, go to coach training programs that weren't affiliated with my job. And I had a date set for that big leap to happen, and it was going to be March 13th, 2020. And I decided, my husband said to me that morning, are you sure that today's the day to do this? And I said, I've been working so hard, I'm ready. He's like, no, the day that our governor is going to shut the state down, the day that the lines at Costco are going to be out the door. I said, he's like, you're going to do this, but maybe today is not the day to quit your job with a pension, with this unknown looming pandemic ahead, right? And so I heeded his advice, but I did tell my team that day, Todd, that I was planning my departure. I didn't know when that would take place. I wanted to be there for them, because we were all facing this unknown. And I hung out for a couple more months, but that's when the world of positive intelligence intersected with mine. And I had done the program in January of 2020 before all this happened, before any of us knew what was coming. And on a whim in March of 2020, I put a video up on LinkedIn to say what's getting me through the early days of the pandemic. I listed off a few silly things. And then I also held up a copy of my positive intelligence book. I tapped on it and I said, when I do this work, I know we both have it behind us. When we do this work, I notice a difference in my days. Oh my gosh, you even put stickers on yours. Look at you.
No, my positive intelligence coach gifted me with this book with stickers so that I wouldn't give, because I always buy the book and I give it away. She said, you need to have your own copy. That was so smart.
I should have done that because my husband took my copy. He is in academia and has been taking the book into work meetings and reading different parts of it right now to help his team stay grounded. So I get you on the giving your book way. So this is the undog-eared copy behind me. At any rate, I tagged Positive Intelligence. I tagged the founder, Shirzad Shameen, in that post. And from there unfolded just a beautiful conversation with different members of his team. First and foremost, Bill Carmody, the head of coaching at the time, and at the time their head of sales. And I was very open with Bill and the other gentleman to say, I have a feeling the reason that you're interested in talking to me is because I lead the coaching function at a very large Fortune 100 company. And I love that. And I'm happy to help introduce you to the people that work with me. And we did that. And I have been building my own thing. And so don't get your hooks in me. I'm not going to be your person here. And so over the course of a couple of months, Bill and I formed a really good relationship. And he said, why don't you come work with us? And Todd, that was the piece for me that allowed the pandemic pivot, because I had enough, I felt comfortable enough with what I had secured in terms of coaching clients and programs and offerings, but it didn't feel enough, both from a time perspective and a financial perspective. And so this was perfect. It was the perfect solution to come in and help build a coaching program. I knew a thing or two about that because I'd been doing it for 2 years. And I did that. I came in when there were just a smattering of people on a Zoom screen, as I like to say. And now we've grown to thousands and thousands and thousands of coaches across the entire world, every single corner of the world. And I've done probably every job that's imaginable within the company, all while holding true to my body of work, the coaching work I do, the writing work I do, and the speaking work I do. So it's been a really unique and fun balance that I would have never written this down when you asked me in elementary school in that small town, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would have never envisioned this.
Right. Ooh, thank you for sharing. There's a lot to unpack there. But we just went down the road of PQ, Positive Intelligence, which, so ironically, I went through the program. It sounds like the same time that you did. Well, I guess, did you go through the program?
The way I was introduced, because I'm never introduced to anything, quote, normal, is the coach I was working with in 2019 interviewed Shirzad on his podcast.
Okay.
And Shirzad is gracious to everybody who does that with and said, hey, do you want to invite a few people to experience the program?
Okay. Gotcha.
And so this was early days 2020. It was pre there's an app guided experience that you and I both are very familiar with now. It's very, very early days.
Right.
So definitely not as smooth and clean as of a user experience that we have today. So it was before we had the large coaching grant program that we now offer every quarter. And so I took it kind of on my own, not through a formalized program. And the first week that I was kind of on their team, it was enrolling coaches into our coaching program, which was just very unique because I didn't kind of quote come up like those coaches did, but had a firm belief that this is a framework, an operating system that can change the world. And it's why I was willing to say yes back in 2020. It's why I'm willing to say yes, even though there are many different directions that I could have taken over the last 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And my audience, they know that I'm a big fan. And obviously now I'm a coach because I said yes. And I will go to the mountaintop and talk and scream as loud as I can about positive intelligence because it literally has changed my life. So Natalie, before we go any deeper, I would love to have you, because it can be a little bit challenging to explain what this program is. So in a Cliff Notes version from one of the first people in the positive intelligence framework, can you explain to our audience what this program is all about?
Absolutely. This program helps you build your mental fitness so you can have greater well-being, better relationships, and better performance. And the definition of mental fitness that we use at Positive Intelligence is your ability to respond to life's challenges with a positive rather than negative mindset. And that sounds simple at its surface, Todd, but it is not, because we have all been wired from birth, from experiences in our life, traumatic or otherwise, to carve these grooves in our neural pathways that feed the negative thinking region of our brain. It's just embedded in us. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're the most positive person in the world, you likely have a lot of neurons firing to that negative portion of your brain. And we also know through neuroscience research that we have ability to strengthen the neural pathways that feed the positive, creative thinking region of our brain. And what positive intelligence does is help you install an operating system on the hardware that is your brain, so you are less likely to immediately jump to this negative mindset and instead have a greater capability to open up the positive mindset. And we have a 7-week experience that when you do it fully and you commit to it, you can come out of the other side fully transformed. And Todd, I listen to a lot of different types of books, and, I have experienced other types of programs, and this is the one. I mean, and I have sat in the seat of head of client success for positive intelligence, where we're bringing this to some of the biggest companies around the world with some of the most hyper rational, critical thinking leaders. And they say things like, I can't believe we haven't found this sooner. This helped change my life. It helped save my marriage. I mean, that's what's kind of neat to me, Todd, is that the context in which I have been working with positive intelligence has been to insert this into professional settings. It's a program people do as part of their work development. And almost always there's this underlying personal growth moment that happens. I call that it's a great positive consequence we weren't expecting. So it's perhaps a little longer than Cliff Notes version, but I like to tell people that positive intelligence is like the Matrix. You don't quite fully know what it is until you really go into it. And so, because getting the book is a great place to start, but truly it is an experiential moment where people love insight. They like to get information, but people often don't like to do the work. And this program invites you to do the work so you can rewire your brain.
Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. Get your hand off the hot stove.
Can I tell you a funny hand on hot stove story, Todd?
Yeah, please do. I think I saw it in one of your videos. But
yeah. You saw it, but your audience probably hasn't. So one of the things that's really important for everyone to know about positive intelligence that you've probably already shared with them is that this is not toxic positivity. To me, toxic positivity is someone asks you how you're doing, you're crumbling inside, you feel awful, but you shake your head. I'm great. Things are great. It's awesome. That's not what we're up to at Positive Intelligence. We're actually saying we want you to feel your negative emotions. We want you to experience what they are. But like putting your hand on a hot stove, we only want you to experience that for a second. And so I always share this story when I'm doing a keynote, is that when I was 6 years old, I had a very, very big curiosity about how long the stove stayed hot once it was turned off. And I was at my babysitter's one day. She took all the little kids up to their nap. She had just turned off the stove from lunch. I was by myself. So I pulled that pan off the burner. I stuck my entire hand on the burner. And woo, I got my curiosity was cured that day because I knew it was hot. I got a blister on every single finger. But if I had held my hand on that hot stove any longer, I would have burned my fingers to the bone. So we like to say that feeling of that hot stove is like our negative emotion. And it's to say, oh, this is a signal. I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling in fear. Ooh, I have a choice to do something different. And Todd, that's where you and I both know this magic thing called a PQ rep, which is in essence just getting into your body for at least 10 seconds. We rub our fingers together. We breathe deeply. We listen for sounds. We hold a cup of coffee. But basically just taking 10 seconds and fully getting into a sensory experience. So you shut down that chatter in your brain that's causing those negative neural pathways to fire up. And that 10-second pause, I think, could be what changes our world, quite frankly. I challenge myself all the time, Todd. I'm in the middle of a busy workday and I could just go do one more thing or just open another tab. And I'm like, no, Natalie, do what you teach, which is to take 3 deep breaths. That's the equivalent of a 10-second PQ rep. And every time I do that, it's a little easier to take on that next task. It's a little less draining, a little less stress inducing. And then if I sit in that experience for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, it just grows.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I had an idea before you came on to record that potentially, if you're up for it, at the end of the episode, as we wrap up, we invite our guests to walk through a guided, maybe 1-2 minute PQ session with you.
I
Sound
love
good?
it.
Okay,
Absolutely.
let's do that. Don't let me forget.
Yeah, and stay tuned. Stick around so you don't miss that.
Right. Get a little taste of PQ. So, oh my gosh, yeah, where to go. But I just want to say, like, positive intelligence, and I talk about all the time. I have an ad inserted in the middle of every episode about PQ. From my experience and my clients that I've coached through the program, there's one concept that stays true for everybody, and it is the pause. That if I were to summarize in one word, pause. So it allowed me to build an internal pause button, because I grew up my entire life. I had a temper. I had little to no patience. So I call myself the knee jerker, right? So imagine living life as a knee jerker, 1 to 10, like that. So I had, like Viktor Frankl says, I had no space to choose my response. And that's where I love to tie in Viktor and this program, because it is all about the space. If you don't have space, you can't choose, right? So the negativity runs your life, and then you're responding and you're saying and doing something that you're going to regret, which is not good in family, any relationship, or certainly not at work as a leader. So I just wanted to mention that it's all about the pause. And when I look at the feedback, I have my clients do a survey, and they say it allowed me to slow down. It allowed me to think. It allowed me to pause before I react. But I have one guy, and I love this. He says, it's like training to become a Jedi in Star Wars. You learn to move through life with presence, purpose, and peace. And you said the Matrix. So it's kind of like dodging the bullets of negativity as do, right? And just having that calm to come in and say, okay, now I can go to battle. I can do whatever that challenge is that's in front of me. And then, so we got to go here, Natalie, then, because to me, this next phrase is the core concept of PQ. That is my life motto, the sage perspective. That is how I see the world. That is my new lens, is seeing the gift and opportunity in every situation. It changes your life. It changes your life, right?
You are 1,000% right. And I want to hinge on what you said about the pause before I comment on sage perspective. When I said that definition of mental fitness earlier, it was respond to life's challenges with a positive rather than the negative mindset. That sounds, oftentimes when I say that out loud, and that's how I open every keynote I give, every workshop I give, is it's not simple, because there is no magic wand, Todd. There is no like, oh, I can just wake up and think positive thoughts. I can read an affirmation in the morning and I'll just get out of the different side of the bed. It doesn't happen that way. We actually have to get into our bodies. We have to take that pause. And for so many people, we're in this quick fix world. They just want to say, oh, well, if I just think different thoughts, it'll all be different. And that's part of it. Absolutely. And we have to center our body. We have to like calm our minds down. So that's possible. If we miss that step, if we don't calm our minds down, it's actually not possible to take on the sage perspective where every problem or challenge can be converted into a gift or opportunity, which I agree with you. Hands down is the greatest phrase we have. It's also one of the most controversial and difficult sections of the program for me, especially when I'm delivering this as like a workshop, because everyone wants to put their hand up. But what about this? And what about that? And what about the thing? And I always have to just preface it by, I didn't say immediately. The gift might come month later, a year later, 5 years later. The gift isn't automatic. Once again, we are living in this world where we want everything automatically. And if we want to take our mental health and our mental fitness seriously, we have to realize it's the long game. This is not 7 weeks is probably the fastest I've ever seen from a program perspective to actually change the brain chemistry. So I'm all for the 7 weeks, but it can't happen in a minute for people who just think, oh, I just need to think different thoughts. So the pause is important to get us to sage perspective for sure.
Yeah, and that's important to mention that you have to do the work. Just like anything, you have to do the work. But I am here to tell you, I am a living case study. I've rewired my brain. I've laid down new tracks, new neural pathways. It is absolutely insane. After destroying my brain for so many years, drugs and alcohol, I was able to rewire it. And it is absolutely crazy how plastic our brains are. The program, I'm all in. I'm all in. It changed my life. I will try to share it with as many people as I want. That's why I became a coach. That's why I really wanted to talk with you, somebody who has been through and knows this program and how powerful it is. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about it. So I feel like we're still on the cusp of something really special and unique. So all we can do is continue doing what we're doing and having an episode like this, really devoted to positive intelligence, I think will help. So I appreciate, Natalie, everything that you've done and continue to do for the program and the lives that you're changing. We'll be right back after this short message. Hey, it's Todd again. Did you know that mental fitness is the secret weapon for transformational leadership? Your mind may be sabotaging you, leading you down a path of stress and negativity, but it doesn't have to be this way. If you're ready to unlock the resilience to empower yourself and the team you lead, listen up. Through the Positive Intelligence Program, PQ for short, I help leaders build mental strength, manage stress, and increase emotional intelligence. Imagine reducing burnout, improving your relationships, and increasing performance, all backed by neuroscience. Look, I'm living proof of its power, having rewired my brain after building my mental fitness with PQ over the last 5 years. Are you ready to build yours? Visit toddbirch.com for more information, and let's get a free consultation scheduled today. Now back to the show. Yes, PQ. So we could go on.
Yes, I know. I'm just like, Todd and I are having this look across the street. We keep going, and he's probably thinking, no, we're going to zig and zag here. But yes, bottom line, this is it. This is it. And we are the converted, obviously, here. But if you haven't talked to Todd about the program and you're one of his dedicated listeners, please don't hesitate anymore. Like get into his show notes, reach out to him, find out how he can serve you as your coach. And certainly I'm here to have the same conversation. But first and foremost, I like to send you back to your host to have the conversation, because I love everything you said about this, Todd.
Excellent. Well, so we talked about PQ, but now we're going to talk about another book called Let Her Out, Reclaim Who You Have Always Been, which comes from PQ to some degree, right? When I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could hear Shirzad saying, like, you have everything you need. You are beautiful, unique, amazing. Just let it out. And I say, ignite your spark. Like, you have it. It's in there. Just reignite it. So I love the title of the book. Natalie, let's talk about this best-selling book of yours. What inspired you to write it? What does letting her out mean to you personally?
The book is absolutely a sage perspective book, and it's sage power, empathize in its embodiment. And I actually wrote most of this book before I was even introduced to positive intelligence. So the fact that I finalized it, I finished it, I went to bestseller status within the first year that I was working with the organization, very symbiotic. This was born out of rejection. I submitted this idea to TEDx Women in Columbus in 2019 after I found all of the journals and diaries I'd kept since I was 8 years old. I was about to turn 40. I found the box. I knew the box existed, Todd, but I purposely didn't open it. And for some reason, on one night in this late 2019, I decided to open it. And I looked at those diaries and I flipped pages and I thought, oh my gosh, she was incredible. She was brave and ambitious and creative and spunky and funny. And yes, there were hard moments and tender moments. And I just thought to myself, where is she? I was raising two little kids. I have teenagers now. They were littler then. I was working this busy job. I was building the side business, and I'm like, who is she? Like, is she anywhere to be found? And at the same time, TEDx Women put out their call for presentations, and I was a many time rejected speaker by that point in time. And I thought, this is it. This is the talk. Let her out. Reclaim who you always or who you've always been is such a good idea for that stage. And I was rejected again. And I was, my hand was on that hot stove for quite some time, Todd. I was angry. I thought this was my moment. And so I converted this. I didn't know about the sage perspective, but I said, okay, there's these other conferences in town submitting speaker requests. And I submitted the same idea to those conferences. And one of them called me up and said, hey, we don't just want you as a breakout speaker. Will you be our keynote speaker? And Todd, that was what I was working toward this whole time. And I said, yes. And I replicated that and got it accepted to 4 keynote stages in the spring of 2020.
I love it.
Yes. And they were all gift. But they were all canceled because COVID canceled.
That's okay. It's okay. The gift and opportunity was the affirmation that your story mattered.
Yes.
I love it.
So after all the events got canceled, I met with a book coach. And I told her what I had done. I created my own stage in COVID. I was like, you know what? I wanted to do this. I'm just going to build a stage and do it. People came to my Zoom room on a Wednesday night. I delivered my keynote. And the next day I talked to Kathy, my book coach. I sent her the recording. She said, that's your outline. Go write the book. And I did. And I mean, the book was like done in record time. People ask me, how long did it take you to write the book? I said, well, there's 2 answers. If you look from the day I said yes to Kathy and I committed to writing the book to publication, it was 8 months. If you look at how long the writing existed that's in the book, because I call on journal entries from the time I was 8, it took me 32 years to write that book. And it's the best piece of work that I've created in my life, Todd. And I say that being an author who published her book 5 years ago. So many people publish a book, they kind of duck and cover, they get their bestseller status, they have the credential, and then it just starts to wither away. And what's happened for me is that the book has actually grown in strength over 5 years. And I think this is also the reminder for someone out there who thinks things happen overnight. They don't. And I'm so happy that I have continued to give life to let her out. And in turn, that's given life to so many other people, Todd. So some of the fun things that I did with this book is the cover is a mosaic of other people's picture of her or him. And I'll say this to your audience. The title is Let Her Out because that's me, that I'm the one who wrote the book. I have had a lot of men read the book and gain the same kind of value that a woman would. So this is a book that you could say, let him out, and it will still have the same effect on you. But I let people be part of this process. And through the book, it's really inviting everyone to go into their own story. So while I am telling my story, I give prompts and questions. I think there's over 100 questions throughout the book that help you identify your story so you can reconnect the best parts of who you are.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. And I was going to ask, I don't have a copy of the book yet.
I'll fix that. I'm mailing a shipment this week. We'll take care of that. A
signed copy would be great. I'm just saying. So I noticed the mosaic and I was trying to zoom in and I noticed they were little pictures of somebody. I thought maybe they were you, of all your childhood pictures, letting that inner child out. But interesting that they're not just you.
It was crowdsourced, and that to any aspiring author, and I know you're a marketer at heart, Todd, is like, it's all about how do you engage people in the process of your own work in a very authentic way, right? And there's nothing more authentic than saying, will you send me the picture of her or him that you think of when you think of that true essence of yourself as a child? And I had some people send me pictures of them as an adult, which is how some people go through this experience too, which is fine. The best thing I love about the cover, since you brought it up, it's just of like, who are these people? I was having my final design review with the book jacket creator. And I said, Chris, how did you know? And she said, know what? And I said, Chris, when I turned the book over on the back, I said, there are 4 floating pictures. I said, this one is my book coach, Kathy. These are my daughters. And this is my mom.
Mm.
And she said, Natalie, I had no idea. I said, it's perfect. We're done.
Oh, that was happenstance?
Happenstance.
Oh.
Which I don't believe in coincidences, Todd. There's so many moments where I'm like, oh, that was just meant to be.
I tell you, boy, I got goosebumps a couple of times during that conversation. One, it's just so inspiring. I am working on a book as well, and that you just inspire me to get mine going. And it's interesting. I'm going through kind of an exercise with a coach, a speaker coach, a very high-end speaker coach. And he's kind of takes you through almost like a journaling process where you're writing down, listing all of your origin story. So it's a true reflection, as if I had diaries, which I didn't, to go back through like you did. But, that's that story, letting him out and really sharing all of those kind of origin stories, which there are many of those, and getting vulnerable and really not being afraid, to tap in and dig that out. So anyhow, I love it. I love the title and everything about it. I can't wait to read it. And so this is your keynote. I also noticed that you have this live event. You have one coming up in a couple of weeks in Cincinnati. So that seems like it's turning into much more than just a book. It's more like a movement, right?
That was the goal 5 years ago, Todd.
Okay.
And we were still in the throes of being, locked down and not being able to go out into the world. And so I think what's happened with Let Her Out is she's a late bloomer. And the movement's happening now. And what's amazing is, yes, I call them Let Her Out Live events. I did 2 in my home last year. And this year, the main reason I'm doing these is I had 2 women come to me so moved and transformed by their own experiences, either at my events or my keynotes. And they said, I want to bring this to my city. I said, game on, let's do it. Will you help me? And they both graciously said, yes, I will help you do this. And Todd, as someone who, yes, I work in affiliation with a company, but the business I run through my book and my speaking, that's been all on my own for 10 years. So to ask for help has been, talk about my vulnerable moment. And I had to say to both of them, I have not been great about accepting help on this journey, and I need you to push me in that way. And they have opened my eyes to how to receive help in the most beautiful, loving way, because we're figuring things out together. So we're going to start with these 2 cities this year and see where it takes us. Ideally, I'd love it to craft a model that's replicable, that I can have people across the country raise their hands and say, yeah, I want to bring this to Minneapolis. I want to bring this to Los Angeles. I want to bring this to Denver, wherever the city might be. And we'll figure it out.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on all of your success with the book and now with the live events. We'll include some links to the live events in the show notes.
Yeah. And Todd, I think I'll just say one more thing about why I'm doing the event, and really invite anyone to think about having a moment like this for themselves. And it goes back to your word, which is pause. I am attracting to these events pretty overtaxed women who have lost themselves. That's ideally who I'm going to be talking to. And they are not taking a pause for themselves.
Right.
They are just simply not taking a pause for themselves. And that's what this day is all about.
But let's talk a little bit. Let's continue on with the book. You mentioned that there are several questions outlined in the book. And obviously we can't go through all of them. We want people, to purchase the book. But if one of our listeners feels stuck, is there a question in particular that might help them reclaim their voice and their presence?
The main question that I would have them ask, and I'm crediting my very first coach with this question. My very first coach's name is Michelle, and she asked me in one of my very first coaching sessions, and I came to her because I was feeling stuck. I was meh. So I am exactly the person you're talking about right now. And she asked me, Natalie, what did you enjoy doing when you were younger that you're not doing today? That's the question I would have your audience answer for themselves. For me, it was I talk about knee-jerk reaction and answer. For me, it was like writing and speaking. I am not creating right now. I'm not sharing. And she said, okay, well, and through our coaching, we built a plan and activated a plan where I began doing those things. So out of that came my blog, which a lot of the blog became the book. And it became getting on different stages to speak, which, as you and I have talked about extensively, you start on the small, Chamber of Commerce, local business event stage. You go and you give it your very best. And then slowly those turn into the local companies hiring you, the national companies hiring you, the conferences hiring you. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, okay, this is what's happening. And that was what that transpired for me. And I think what a lot of people say in that question. So if you're stuck on that question, like, I don't remember what I love doing. So many people, because I pose this question in my keynotes, which are very interactive. So typically I'm having them answer this and they all pop up on the screen. And so many people say things like, go outside, be in nature, ride a bike, play the piano, create some art. These aren't expensive things. They don't take a lot of time, but we've just simply not brought that paintbrush with us in a literal and figurative sense into our adulthood. And we have to figure out how to get it back in. So this is kind of where the work combines with joy. A lot of the research that's happening around joy right now, it's how do you insert that level of joy? Because as you and I both know, when we raise our satisfaction and joy levels, like all of the tides rise. We're better for our work. We're better for the people that we love, and we are better for ourselves.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And you're just giving me more inspiration for my book, which the concept is really wrapped around igniting your spark, which has kind of become my motto. And I talk a lot about on this show and in my keynotes about tapping into our inner child to get the spark. And the spark, I really believe, is fully based on curiosity. And we had it as a child, and we just lose it over time because we get into Groundhog Day. That's the stuckness, the Groundhog Day, the default button. Same old thing day in and day. And it's not a bad thing, right? We're into a comfort zone, into our fixed mindset, but we can get out. How can we get out? One, we need to be ready. But if we just go outside, I say go out on a swing set. Go down the slide with your kids, or just go randomly too, or maybe not when there's a bunch of kids there because you might look weird like a stranger. But tap into your inner child, whatever that is. And Shirzad's a big component of that. And what my clients have said in the coaching practice of positive intelligence, one of the things they love most is going back through old photos of themselves as a child. And that might be the spark. You're like, oh, I was so happy. I was having so much fun when I was playing baseball or running through the sprinkler, whatever that is, or blowing bubbles or catching bubbles. It's those small, simple things, but that joy, that curiosity we have as a child.
I recommend everyone create a digital file on their photo app of your childhood photos if you have access to them. I'm very fortunate that my parents they took a lot of pictures, they cataloged them extensively, and I've spent many a day, taking pictures of a picture, and I save them to an album. And there are days when that's what I flip through. I want to remind myself of that creative, curious person and that's the thing, Todd, that person hasn't left us. It's up to us to bring that out. And sometimes we simply need someone to say, what do you miss doing that you used to love doing as a child? Like, I don't know. No one's that didn't come up in my last mid-year review, Right. No one's going to ask you this, likely in the context of your professional work setting. You could be the one to ask yourself these questions. And that's really what I want people to do with this work, is do the work. Once again, themes emerging, Todd, is do the work. Well, you can't just feel it. You have to actually go do something first.
Right. And that's the key, Natalie, is, you can walk a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink it. Right. So you need to be open, ready, and just curious enough to ask the question, what if? What if I looked at this a different way? That's it. You might actually come back with a great response and answer to what your next step is, So anyhow, so that's been great. I love it. Can't wait to get a copy of the book and go through it. We'll have links to Natalie's book and her live event and everything else, her website, in the show notes. Natalie, we have a little bit of time here left. I'd love to talk a little bit about your coaching. IFC certified, which is no joke. I checked into it. That is, if not the most legitimate certification you can get. It's expensive and it takes a lot of time. So congrats on that. Cause I know
Thank
what
you.
that looks like. And I said, no, not for me quite yet, but I have deep respect for those that have. So you're taking many leaders through this coaching program, and we're not talking about PQ necessarily. Have you seen a theme? Like, is there a theme that many leaders struggle with? And then what has been your response? How have you helped them get through some of those struggles?
That's a really good question. So first and foremost, anybody I work with in a coaching program starts with positive intelligence, and then we morph into what I call a let her out version of coaching, where we're talking about the values, what's important to you, what's missing in your life right now. I think the biggest challenge so many people are facing, Todd, is that they simply have forgotten what's important to them. And in that forgetting, they actually become less confident. So that lack of confidence means that they're not getting the promotions, the opportunities. They're not able to step forward into the spaces they know they, quote, deserve to be and they know they want to belong to, but they can't figure out how to get in there. And so the work I do, the very deep work that we're doing after we rewire the brain, is to get in and dig under the covers to really get honest. And that's what I love about coaching, Todd, is that we get to see people at their rawest, most vulnerable. We have confines of confidentiality. As an ICF certified coach, I am bound to their code of ethics. Nothing that happens in my coaching sessions leaves my office, right? My coaching clients can say whatever they want about it, but I cannot. I am bound by that ethical clause. And it's really amazing what that confine of confidentiality does in a relationship. And so that's what I would have your listeners zoom out to say is like, what are you not telling somebody that if you had that confines of confidentiality, what could change for you? Is it your confidence level that could skyrocket? Is it uncovering some deep-seated aspiration and desire that you've hidden away? There's something inside everyone I coach. And quite frankly, a lot of times people present with one issue or problem, and at the end, yeah, we've solved it, but we've probably gone there in a very different direction than any of us thought. And we've uncovered so much more in the process. And to me, that's the beauty of coaching. You've seen this as you've walked people through the positive intelligence program. There are all these unintended positive consequences of opening yourself up to a coaching relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I want to go back to some Gallup polls because I think we're in another epidemic right now, right? You've seen the Gallup poll, 79% of employees globally are disengaged. And then, the managers as well in the 70%. So, and it starts there, right? It starts with leaders and it's going to trickle down. People are disengaged and they're stressed and they're burned out. And we're seeing high levels of, mental health challenges. I think everybody needs a coach. And I'm not saying that to hire me. Everyone needs a person, right, to talk to. And it's not your manager. It's not your best friend. And it's not your partner or spouse. You need kind of this unbiased person who will just listen, right? Just listen. We all need help. And that's the biggest thing, right? We all need help. And you've said it, but you need to be willing to ask for help. You struggle with it. That was me, hyperachiever, biggest saboteur. Like I couldn't ask for help. I was on an island and it didn't get me anywhere. I was stuck. But when I got vulnerable and I asked for help, my life changed. I am the happiest person I've been in my entire life. We just need to be okay getting some help and asking. And a coach is a great way. And yes, it can be an expense, but I wish companies would have that as default part of their program. Forget the pizza parties, forget the foosball, forget the gym membership. Hire each person a coach. And yeah, maybe they may leave the company after going that because they're going to discover that maybe this job isn't right for them. but I think you owe them that, right? And that's okay. If it isn't for them, they're probably one of the disengaged employees. You want people that work for you to be there for the right reasons and be in it to win it. So anyhow,
I know. I would say to anybody listening who's like, well, how do I even do that? I asked my manager at the time, I said, hey, I met this person and she's a coach and here's what she said she can help me with. Are you willing to sponsor that? And my manager said yes at the time. And so I think a lot of people also aren't willing to advocate for themselves because they think, oh gosh, little old me company won't, they're not going to pay for this. You're never going to know unless you ask. And so I always say, when I'm working with a client, I always ask, is this something that your workplace is supporting you through? And if they say, oh, no, I didn't ask, I said, just go do yourself the favor and ask. I said, because what would it look like if they ended up covering all or a portion of this for you? And they're like, okay, I never thought about that. Because anytime I've hired a coach, Todd, whether it was me personally hiring them, I've hired more directly myself than a company ever sponsored on my behalf. It always made me better at my job too. Like if I hired them for personal reasons, it always has made me better professionally every single time, hands down.
Yep, absolutely. Get your hand off the hot stove and raise it and ask for help. That's it, folks. Well, Natalie,
Mic drop moment right there.
This has been so much fun. I love you and what you're doing, and this has just been great. It makes my day. Couple of lightning bolt round questions.
I like what you did there. Nice job.
Quick ones. Who is a leader that you admire and why?
I'm going to say my husband on this one. Aww. Because he's so passionate about everything he does. He has a very big job with very heavy lift. He also coaches our 13-year-old daughter's soccer team, and he's all in all the time. And I appreciate that in a leader.
Wow.
Even if you happen to be married to them.
That's awesome.
This will be his anniversary gift. Our anniversary is coming up. Happy anniversary, Rob.
Rob, you got to listen to the show, man. Good. If you could meet anyone, dead or alive, and have a conversation with them, who would that be?
I've often said that one of my biggest heroes has been Michelle Obama, and she's who I've embodied in some of these exercises for a long period of time. I would chat with Michelle. She's still around. What's it like just to kind of live in that ecosystem, knowing that you are such a powerhouse in and of yourself, and you've sometimes had to hide or sometimes been in the shadows. So yeah, I would talk to Michelle. Okay.
Awesome. What is your favorite leadership book that you would recommend?
There's so many.
I know. It's a tough one.
So I will say the book that I have read more than any other book, and that probably is why I need to recommend it. And that is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
Okay.
I read it every year on vacation because it talks about moving from your zone of incompetence to your zone of genius. And I think for anybody who's feeling the stuck, it's a really short read on how to really help you identify how are you spending your time, how are you spending your life, and how do you want to do that differently?
That was not on my radar, but awesome. We'll add that to the show notes. Last question, and most importantly, what in the world is 4-H?
I didn't expect that as the last one. 4-H is a youth leadership development program. I am a 10-year alumni of that program. It's where I started my career in public speaking. Many people associate 4-H with raising farm animals, doing cooking projects, wordworking projects, but it's all over the country. There's a plethora of leadership opportunities, and that's where I got my start, Todd.
That's awesome. My wife grew up on a farm up near Sandusky, and so she was familiar. I asked her last night, I'm like, what does it stand for? Where did that come from? Do you know the origin of 4? It's such an odd, not very sticky marketing name for the program.
It started in Ohio, actually. So it has its birthright in Ohio, but it's national. But the 4 H's stand for head, heart, hands, and health. And every 4-H, if you think about Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, I would say it's very comparable in like being of service orientation, teaching children leadership skills. Every meeting starts with saying the 4-H pledge, where you're pledging your head, heart, hands, and health for creating a better world.
Oh, I love that. I learned something new today. That's awesome. And typically you see this at the state fair. Right?
Correct.
That's where
they
typically
go. the kids, my daughter did 4-H this past year, and she made cakes and she did a shopping project. So for anybody out there who thinks that you need to have a cow or a pig or a goat,
That's
don't.
what I always associated it with animals. The biggest pig in the town. The biggest.
And that is still a very big part of it. That is still a very big part of it. And it's very much expanded into suburban and urban areas to introduce these concepts to whoever wants to. And in my daughter's case, it meant she baked a lot of cakes over the summer, and she had to learn some different shopping techniques, which as a 13-year-old girl, was perfect.
Yeah, I have a 13-year-old girl. So we won't go down.
That's episode 2, Todd.
That's episode 2. How to deal with your 13-year-old daughter. No.
PQ,
baby. It's allowed me to come in at a whole different perspective. I've shared some of the stories. Literally, it has helped me.
It all circles back, Todd. It all circles back.
All circles back. All right, my friends. Well, this has been amazing. We have a couple minutes. Let's do some self-guided PQ reps with the one and only Natalie Siston.
Excellent. Well, listeners, I want you, as possible as it is for you in the setting you are, is to be still and do this safely. If you're listening while you're driving, please only follow the prompts that are safe for you. But if you are stationary, please just follow along exactly. I'm going to invite you to plant your feet firmly on the floor, connecting each and every one of your toes to the ground. If you're sitting, feel your seat connected to the chair. And with that firm foundation, I'll lead us through a series of PQ reps. The first thing I'd like you to do is rub 2 fingertips together with such a tension that you can feel the fingertip ridges on either finger. You can release that sensation. Now I'd like you to focus on the farthest away sound you can hear. The farthest away sound. Now focus on the closest sound you can hear. If you haven't heard the sound of your own breath, focus on that sound as you take 3 deep breaths in and out. 1 more deep breath. You can bring yourself back into the space. And one question I'll leave you with is, how do you feel after having done that experience for no longer than 2 minutes?
I feel present. I feel calm. I feel relaxed. And that's typically what I hear from my clients going through this. It's a moment to slow down and pause.
We did it. We did it, Todd.
We did it.
Rewind it if you need to do it again.
Yeah, that is the beauty of a podcast. So whether it's you're watching on YouTube or listening, Apple, Spotify, or from the web, enjoy those PQ reps. Natalie, it's been an honor. I'm so glad that we got introduced by Molly. You're an amazing human being. I love the work that you're doing. I feel blessed that you and I got to connect, and I can't wait to just continue to stay connected with you, watch you throughout your journey and how many lives you change. And my hope is that selfishly you and I stay in touch, and potentially, who knows, maybe I end up at Let Her Out Live.
I love it.
I
love it.
Just planting my own seed on the air. But I thank you again. Look forward to getting your book. And you want to mic drop anything before we go?
I just want to say thank you for what you're doing, Todd. This is amazing work. And to all your listeners, thank you for doing the work. This has been great.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Bolt Podcast. I appreciate you spending some time with us today, and it's been a pleasure being part of your journey toward growth, transformation, and leadership. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and leave a review. It truly helps us reach more people like you. Interested in taking your leadership to the next level? Visit toddbirch.com to learn more about my keynote speaking, corporate training programs, and my positive intelligence coaching. Look, I'm here to help you build the mental resilience and leadership skills that drive lasting change. And remember, progress comes from small, consistent steps. Keep moving forward, my friends. And before we wrap, a quick reminder that the information shared on the Bolt podcast, along with anything from toddbirch.com or all my social media channels, is for informational and educational purposes only. We all need support, and if you're seeking meaningful guidance, one of the best things you can do is talk to a licensed professional, whether that's a physician, therapist, or coach. Hey guys, take care of yourself, stay kind to your mind, and remember, help is always available when you need it. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.